Hello people tube and welcome back to another review. So recently I watched and reviewed the first Silent Hill film. Of course it doesn't really hold up as well as it used to and just not as big a fan as I used to. Well, I decided to watch the sequel, Silent Hill Revelations. Now, there's many ways you can look at this. You can look at it as a video game movie based off of the third game, or you can look at it as a direct sequel based off of the first game, just like the third game was a direct sequel based off the first game. Now, here's how I'm going to look at it. Because either way you look at it, the movie's fucking trash. Whether it be a movie for the third game or a direct sequel, even to the first movie. So I'm going to just cover some issues with it from the game. Like, some shit it fucks up from the game. But primarily I'm going to look at it as a sequel to the first movie. So this time around, Sharon escapes from the other world where her mom and her were trapped in the first film. Well, her mom finds a amulet and it sends her to our world out of the other world. And now her dad, whose name is Harry, first game Harry, first and third game Harry, is no longer Christopher. It's Harry, and her name is no longer Sharon. It's Heather. So now we have the setup for the movie. Well, they're on the run from this cult in the second film, led by Christabella's sister. In this movie, this is not the same cult from the first film. These two cults might have been running at the same time. See, this movie has a problem with explaining shit. All I know is that this is supposed to be the same cult from the first film, but it's obviously not the same cult, especially since the first cult was completely wiped out in the first movie, except for the sister, who was the only person left living in Silent Hill. But no, Christabella had another sister, and they started a new cult, or there's the same cult apparently, and they're following around Harry and now Heather. And of course, she's switching from schools, and they're trying to keep away from this cult. And Vincent, which if you've played the games, Vincent's nothing alike. They're not even close in the movie. He's now a teenager that helps Heather get back to Silent Hill. He was sent out by his mom, the leader of the group. And yeah, and Heather has to go back to Silent Hill. This movie's awful. This movie's fucking awful. First of all, the girl that plays Heather, not an interesting character. I didn't care for her. The guy that plays Vincent, well, Vincent's character from the third game is completely written as just a teenager who grew up in Silent Hill, and he's not interesting. Malcolm McDowell plays his grandfather, who is apparently one of the bosses in the third game. Well, now he's Malcolm McDowell, and they completely ruined that boss as well. And yeah, it's a terrible fucking movie. It adds in creatures like the CG doll creature, which would never be in an early Silent Hill game, and it's terrible. We don't really see that many actual Silent Hill creatures. We see the ones I like to call acid spitters. From the original trilogy, they're the guys with no arms, and they do this and then they spit acid. So it's kind of cool to see them. CG is a little better on them this time around, but certainly don't help. Pyramid Head is back because they finally explain why he's in it. He's apparently Alessa's judge and jury and executioner. So basically, he's Alessa's guardian now. So he's kind of explained in this film, even though that don't make any fucking sense. So yeah, Heather is having nightmares from Alessa again to not come back to Silent Hill. Even though it'd probably been easier just not to have had those nightmares. But she did. She gave her those nightmares for some reason. The cult dies if they breathe the air of Silent Hill, even though None of them, a lot of them in the first film didn't wear masks in the other world or in the world in general. Um, God, there's so much. There's so much wrong with this fucking movie. At the end, I'm gonna go ahead and spoil the ending. So if you give a shit about the end, which you probably shouldn't, Harry basically becomes James from the second game and goes search for his wife. So I guess they were leading up to a sequel there. Uh, Megan and Vincent, or Heather, sorry, not Megan, Heather and Vincent are in Travis's truck from Silent Hill Origins, and the bus from Silent Hill Downpour is coming into Silent Hill. So not only do they set it up for 3 potential sequels, but it's also sort of a nod to fans. But I don't know of any. First of all, no Silent Hill fans like this movie because it ruins what they've come to love, and it's also just a really bad fucking sequel in general. So the nods are even out of place. Any nods towards the game, they're out of place. Anything in this movie is out of place. The jump scares are fucking out of place. We have the typical, oh, it pans backwards behind a wall, and, they're in the foreground sitting there doing something, then fucking something runs by. They have the whoosh jump scare. But they also have Pop-Tart jump scare, where a Pop-Tart jumps out of a fucking toaster. Like, the director of this film just doesn't know Silent Hill, which is a shame because I'm pretty sure it's the same director of the first film, and the one thing he got right was fucking atmosphere. One really didn't have that many jump scares at all. I mean, it had, a share, it had one or two, but it certainly didn't go to this extent where jump scares are the primarily, scary part of the film. Yeah, no, the jump scares are just fuck. Like, put on high for this fucking film. Plus, the imagery is just awful. Like, none of it really stands out as Silent Hill. It just seems more like a cheap fucking sci-fi horror movie, really. So, it's a letdown for fans, and it's a letdown for moviegoers who enjoyed the first Silent Hill, which, I mean, it's not great, it's not even okay, it's just, but no, this movie's definitely a letdown. Even if you enjoyed the first Silent Hill, at least for its atmosphere and main character, everything about the first movie is fucking ruined within this one. So not only does it ruin the of one, but it ruins the game. And it stopped basically any idea of ever even having a sequel to those films. So good job, Silent Hill Revelations. We'll never see another Silent Hill movie because of you, and hell, you're just terrible. You're fucking terrible. So, Silent Hill Revelations is 2 thumbs down and a pile of trash. Peace.